What's up, guys? This is part 3 of my testimony, the final act. Well, it's not the final act, but so far. So this is going to be my 20s, 20 to 29, where I'm at now, and I'm going to give you a timeline of events. Ages 20, 21, early 20s, and first California move. I job hopped in Michigan to find passions. I worked in grocery stores, factories, animal care, plasma centers. That was a little bit later on. At 21, I took my first trip to California in Las Vegas with some friends. I attempted to live in California with a friend who lived in a car. I purchased a 2000s Durangos on Craigslist, but faced numerous issues with it. We were living in these, like, I was trying to live in the mountains, like right outside of Malibu. I don't know if it's the Santa Monica Mountains. I could be wrong about that. I apologize about not knowing exactly, but yeah. And then I was sleeping in my car, and I had to take out the back seat to give it more room. And me and my buddy Chad, we took the back seat out. We actually found some homeless people, and we gave it to them. And we've never seen people so happy for it. They were celebrating, and they had a drink to it in the alley. I was like, that's the type of humility everybody needs to have, you know. And that's not to showcase that we gave someone something to puff ourselves up. But what I'm saying is like even the little things can make a big difference in somebody's life. Because what's so little to us can be big to somebody else. So then my brakes went out in Malibu too, like when I was driving this vehicle, and it was just giving me a bunch of anxiety. I wasn't too car savvy. I went out there with like $2,400, spent like half of it on the vehicle, and then stayed in the hotel one night, and the money just went fast out there, and it was a failure. Realized van life wasn't for me at that time, and I disappointed my friend who stayed behind, and shout out to him for staying behind and still trying to chase his dreams at that time. So I returned to California in 2018. So I go back to Michigan. I job hop a little bit more. And then one of our buddies, Joe, he purchases a 1980s RV from a elderly couple that took care of it. So, but a week before, Joe decided he didn't want to go, but he still let Chad and I take the RV, which was awesome. So at that time, Chad and I, we worked at a factory 7 days a week, working in a factory. Crazy. It was a lot of hard work, but so, and then I stayed in his backyard because my stepmom's father died, and they came into some money, and then they were going to move to Hale, Michigan, which is 3 hours north from New Haven, where we were living at. And I said I didn't want to go, and I'm going to try the California thing again. So I moved into Chad's backyard for 3 months before we saved up enough money to leave. So I go to Malibu, and we go to Malibu in the RV, make it there in about 3.5 days. I got my Buick, Chad's got his Bonneville, and you know, Chad, he had a lot more money saved up than me, so I started working kind of right away. I job hopped a little bit, and then I found a job working at Malibu Coast Animal Hospital, and they gave me a chance right off the street, and I'm forever grateful for that. Shout out to them for everything that they're going through, the LA fires, because I know they got their hands full out there. And I gained valuable experience in the animal care, and they let me try a lot of stuff, you know, and I lived in the RV on Zuma for a while, and then, you know, I showered, we showered on the beach, and then I got sick of living in the RV for a while, and Chad wanted to stay there, so I lived in my car for a couple weeks, and then I ended up, moving in with someone I met off of Craigslist. And that situation, it was going fine at first and stuff like that, but, she started dating this guy, and he had like weird energy, and this other roommate we had, he was a high school counselor, and he kind of did a background check on this dude and found out that he was charged with forcefully putting himself on a woman, is the best way I can put it, in the 70s. And, you know, it was just, he would come over, and he would just kind of take over the whole space and stuff like that. You know, we're paying like $700 a month just to rent a room out of this house in this gated community in Oxnard, and the energy just felt weird, and we kind of felt like he was taking advantage of her and stuff like that. So I ended up moving in with her friend, because I knew her friend, because I was taking care of her friend's cats. And that's a whole nother story that I'm going to get into and everything like that. So I eventually got a gym membership in between, like, being, like, homeless, though, to, like, shower and stuff like that, because, like, we couldn't stand showering on the beach anymore. And we actually experienced the fires in Malibu in 2018. So everything that's going on now, we experienced that once before in 2018. This time is obviously a lot worse. So I was like one of my first days at the animal hospital, and like we had to evacuate, and all we had is the RV there, and I was in Malibu the whole entire time these fires were happening. Chad got out a little bit earlier. He was to hang out to be with somebody, and then he couldn't get back in, and so I was stuck in Malibu. So that was a whole thing. So people were bringing down their animals from like the hills in Malibu all the way down to like the beach on Zuma Beach, and it was just crazy. And someone had radio signal finally through like their Jeep, and they said they opened up the like the exit like down towards Santa Monica. So I left there in my Buick, and you could just feel the heat like coming through your car on both sides. It's crazy. And so I meet up with Chad where that shooting happened in whatchamacallit, at that movie theater right before those fires happened. And we eventually get back into Malibu, and it's just crazy, to be honest with you. Like, we're helping like get goods like off like the water to like give to people and stuff like that. It was cool because like God was using us there, even though like we didn't have shit really. Excuse my language, I messed up, God forgive me. Yep, so I messed up right there, but God forgive me. But yeah, so let's see. So we escaped all that, and then, so like we survived all that by the grace of God, which was awesome. And our cars weren't burnt up, and the RV wasn't burnt up, and we were still good to go. We did face a suspicion of looting. We had undercover cops pull up on us with some straps, aim it at us, and it was crazy. But yeah, so after that though, I moved out of the RV. I want to say I was in the RV for like until like around the summertime, and then I started renting rooms in Oxnard, California. So I began renting a room from a woman named Wanda, which had that guy she was dating that had that charge that just made us felt weird. So I moved into a second home with her friend Lisa, and we became roommates, and everything went good at first, but then, COVID-19 hit, and tensions grew at home and at work, honestly, due to vaccine requirements and politics. So my roommate was very liberal at the time, and that's her prerogative, and I really wasn't, and it caused issues. At first I didn't argue or anything like that. I'd always just try to walk away from it, but then I started to get into it. And this is how I realized about the political battle and how Satan uses politics in the end. And I'll go into more of that on this channel too. And so I'm living with this woman, and then it come to find out that she's an alcoholic just by some of the behaviors that were going on, unfortunately. And I thought I could heal the situation. I stayed in the situation way too long, and I wasn't perfect either, and I'll go into everything that I did wrong in this too. So I started exploring I was taking this depression pill at the time called Lexapro, because I felt like that I just felt a lot of stress out there because I was just by myself. I felt like I couldn't handle like all the pressures of finances and everything on my own, and so I got a little nervous, and I got a prescription for an assist. Well, I stopped taking it abruptly, and I started to become more manic, and I would just pace a lot more, or like I would just be more subject to be upset and like lash out. And so it wasn't the right medication for me, and it really just I haven't felt great about prescription medications ever since. So when I got off of that, I started exploring music, and I wrote my first song I ever dropped, called Dealing with the Devil. It has almost 40,000 streams on Spotify, and it's literally about selling your soul to the devil. And it's just crazy how I felt so dark at that time. And my roommate at the time respects all religions. So like she had like everything from Christianity to Hinduism. And one of my manic episodes, I tore everything down, or I asked her very strongly if she could tear these Hindu stuff down and all this stuff like that, because they're false idols. And I don't know, like, and I really got too deep into that, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, I know what all this stands for, and it's just too hard for me to deny, and that's why I'm doing this YouTube channel. So I left Malibu Coast Animal Hospital because I wanted more there, but they were comfortable with where I was at in the position, and I just think there wasn't a spot for me at the time to go where I wanted to be. And so I left, and I started working in Santa Barbara, and this is when they started really trying to put the vaccine down my throat, because I wasn't sure about it. And one of the veterinarians takes me aside, telling me I'm making everybody uncomfortable there. But what about me? All you guys making me uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? But so it was just like kind of like a gang up type of thing. And I never got vaccinated to this day. And my roommate at the time, she had me she kicked me out and said I had 4 days to get out since I'm not getting vaccinated. And I tried to drive home to Michigan a couple years ago, and I totaled my car then too. Everything came to a complete stop on I-15. I was doing 70, and I didn't hit my brakes in time, and I totaled someone's car, my car, and hit somebody else. Everyone was okay by the grace of God, but it shot me back to California, which ultimately led me to Vegas, which led me to get baptized, which ultimately led me to do this YouTube channel, which is crazy. So, and I'm very grateful for all the vets I worked at and everything too, because they gave me a chance and really showed me that I could really put my mind to anything, to be honest with you, you know. So I witnessed spiritual warfare, and I grew deeper in faith, realizing the importance of Jesus and combating negative forces. For example, I had sleep paralysis when I lived in Vegas. I know this is kind of like all over the place a little bit, but there's just a lot that's happened, and I'm sorry about that, and I'll try to get better with it. But I felt like I couldn't move, and it felt like there was like a presence in the room, and I was like, I could just move my head back and forth. And the one and only time I used the name and said the name and word Jesus, it alleviated from me. And I had a buddy who went through the same thing, and he said that he used Jesus too. And it's just crazy because like it says in the word that the demons even tremble like when they hear his name. It's just, you know, it's insane. Really, it is. So then I started recording music independently. I was in a rap group in California, but I didn't feel like I fit their vision or they fit my vision, to be honest with you. And that's no disrespect or anything. It's just, I'm just very unique. And I know with my music, not a lot of people like it, which is fine because I do. And I really do it for myself and whoever, and whoever it does help, you know, at the end of the day. So, and then I went through 2 earthquakes and a mudslide there in Cali too, that time too. So the second time, there was a lot of success, but there was a lot of hardships too, just like the first time. So I went over the Lexapro. My roommate, she was into alcoholism, and I started, after like the COVID thing, I was just job hopping, and she started helping me out financially, and I really became dependent on her, and it got really out of control. What's up, guys? It's